Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the late one with yours truly, Sylbourne. And I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight as we have a very interesting evening with the in review with my main team as we look at some of the great news of this week and as we give our views and our perspective as well. Also, as you may see, my colors represent the colors of Jamaica behind me and you see I'm decked out with my Jamaican flag because it is Independence Day, Jamaica. But nevertheless, the show has got to go on, and I will just bring on my guests tonight, where we will be having this normal discussion on Thursday, and today's Thursday, the 6th of the 8th, where we look at some of the news that we consider as important to us. We don't follow the mainstream because we are the mainstream, and these are the key guys, number one guys in the UK and the world. Just like they say, Jamaica and the world, to the world, they say. Even though everybody might not be Jamaicans, but we unite everybody as Jamaicans today. Everybody's a Jamaican, everybody everywhere in the world. They'll say, yeah, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man.
All right, David. David, can you hear me?
Yeah.
David?
Yeah, man.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm fascinated. What's
Hey,
that?
man, I'm good. I got my.
What's that? What's that, David?
His shoes, track and field shoes.
Track and field. I think, David, we're having a little slight glitch there. If anything, different colors. I like your background also have a yellowish look as well, a yellowish glow.
It's my boots.
It's her boots. And ladies and gentlemen, I got Dr. David Burton, ophthalmologist, and KEIMA Allen and KEISHA Allen. These are fantastic ladies. And I've also got James Singleton, who said, yeah, man. He's right on the other side there. Welcome to James, you know. And David just had a blackout there, you know what I mean? You know, so what can I say? I guess you might go on. David, are you there, yeah? Come in, David.
I can hear you, but
all right.
I'm not on the screen.
You will log back in. Okay, fantastic. David will log back in. So, guys, listen, KEIMA, how's your week so far?
The week's been great. I had an interesting experience today, I must admit. Today is the first time I've been stopped by the police. So I've...
Tell us how did that go, man?
That was interesting, actually. I was actually in the car on my own, and the police stopped me this morning because they said that I was driving on a road that was meant to be for bus and taxis only. And and so I was obviously the lady police officer came to my car and was asking the question. I was like, if you look ahead, the road that goes left is actually the road, in my view, that's supposed to be for bus and taxis only. And I was able to I shared with her that all the cars are passing me by, so it's not just me alone seeing the.
You're telling her to go and get those other cars as well.
I said, but you stopped me. What about all these other people passing me by? So then she said to me she's going to give me a warning, but not a fine today. So I'm still not quite certain if I'm in the wrong, or either me and all the other drivers are in the wrong, or the police officer. But either way, I didn't get a fine. But it was an interesting stop today.
Did you tell her, is it because I is black?
I was going to ask her, is it because I'm black? You didn't ask that question. Come on, Gina.
But you know what? It's so funny because obviously the first time I stopped, and after reflecting, I'm thinking to myself, all those people when they stop and search by the police officers, some of them they got the cameras out, and they know exactly what to do. I did not know what to do. I just froze. I swear I didn't even park the car properly. I just so it's completely different.
Did you say I can't breathe?
I was just so meek and polite. Sorry, officers. But I'm still not quite sure what I did. But
okay.
I left without a fine, so that's fine.
So that was very interesting. Well, at least you understand what it is.
You now have a lived experience.
Yes.
About it. Not everybody's been stopped and searched by the police.
I think one time I was stopped. I was coming from Bexley from a staff party, and I saw blue water there. I know where I wanted to go, but I wanted to go over there, and I was if I'm butting, and then I was like, oh, behind me, and I said, okay, here we go. And the officer said to me, I think you look a bit lost. I said, yes, actually, I'm a little bit lost. And he said, said, anyway, just walk on the line. And I walk on the line, and then he gave me, he said, blow into this thing, and I blow into it. And then he said, anyway, take this as a souvenir. You okay? And then I said to him, hang on a second, I need some assistance. How do I get over there? This was before the advent of all these things, you know what I mean? How do I get over there? And he directed me how to get over there, you know what I mean? So I still have it somewhere. KEISHA, how was you? What was your week? And did police stop you?
No, my week, and I suppose my day hasn't been as exciting or maybe memorable as KEIMA. Certainly not. No, I just took the train up because we have a family matter that we have to deal with at home here. So I had to take the train, and as usual, I was wearing my face covering, not a face mask. But obviously, I don't have it with me right now. But
yes.
It's one of those face covering that you can use as a scarf as well, which is brilliant.
Okay, okay. And David, were you stopped by the officers?
No, I'm fortunately not. My line of business. Although I was running a red light with my feet. It's quite quick. It's flying along like Usain Bolt, I guess. But no, happy Jamaican Independence Day, everybody.
Yes.
Or can I just say something, because I need the world to know. KEIMA and I, we met Usain Bolt.
Okay.
I just picked that.
Okay.
Have to mention that.
What did he say to you?
I think we were just starstruck. Actually, we were just starstruck, weren't we, KEIMA? We were just sitting there. There was a hotel conference that he had to do. He had just won the Olympics, you see. So that was like 2008, I believe. I can't remember, but he had just won the Olympics, and my sister and I just happened to be at the visiting the hotel around the time that he was there. And given that we're like identical twins, he was like, "Hey, come over." I was like, "Come over," and he took a picture of us, which is brilliant. Sorry. One of the fringe benefits of being twins, you say, people like we just stand out. Anyway.
Okay. And David, what was it like when you met Usain Bolt?
Listen, I met him well. I met him too. Never interesting moment. I had to basically look up at the guy. He's tall, and I thought I was tall. He's a nice guy. What can I say?
Yeah. Well, KEISHA is there,
yeah.
Breaking up. And since KEISHA is there, let me just do something here and show KEISHA in her element. There is KEISHA.
You found it.
There's KEISHA. There's KEISHA in her element and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So what can I say? So I was wondering what that was, but anyway, I was at back. But anyway, guys, Anthony Francis saying, "Hi, all guys, have a good show. Don't worry, the officer didn't know either." David, Wi-Fi needs fixing. That is what James said, David. So
it looks like it.
Yeah, it looks like it. But listen, let's move on.
I'll try and log out and come back.
No problem. But yeah, the key topic is, and I know COVID seems to be on the top line of everything, and it is still there, because as we saw in Aberdeen, there is a potential lockdown or some lockdown going on over there. Manchester, that is also happening there. I understand the Prime Minister has somewhat eased the easing of the lockdown, if I'm not mistaken, with what's happening. And David, you mentioned at some point, and you can pick up on this, is that what is happening now is that there's more testing, and a result of more testing, that is why we are seeing all these figures before. What's your take on, or your prognosis on how things are unfolding?
Yeah, I think what you're finding now is we're getting more to grips with what's happening in regional areas. Maybe not to the greatest of ability here, but we are trying our best to try and get that data. There are kind of two different types of outbreaks that are occurring. Outbreaks within communities themselves, and also sort of outbreaks within particular industries. So you will have heard of outbreaks that are occurring in particular industries that lending themselves to food development. And getting on top of that is quite a task in itself. But then you're getting a sort of a breakout that's occurring within areas and communities that's being a bit more tricky to get hold of, get a hold on, and that's where we're really struggling at the moment. And I think that's why you're finding places like Leicester are in the news, and other areas as well, where maybe there's a little bit more, a little bit less readiness to try and prepare ourselves for COVID.
That's very interesting, and also one of the things which we are looking at also is not just the UK as well, but it's like they're saying it wasn't. A lot of information are coming out now saying it's not even like China or Asia, where people are coming in, but they're coming from mainland Europe. And Nigel Farage is on this thing now. We're talking about lots of persons are coming through via boat, so therefore there's a potential. COVID is coming in from different angles. But the big question that we have been talking about for a while, and everybody's been talking about, is it wise for there to be considered a lockdown, or is the fact that we need to just live with this thing? KEIMA.
I think we got to
David.
KEIMA, go ahead.
No, I think we need to get used to the idea of living with COVID-19. We need to really put the measures in place and put our safety first. Just remember that when we leave the house, we need to take a mask with us, and also use sanitizers and hand washing gels and the safe distancing between individuals and, you know, family members, that sort of thing. Just be very cautious when we go out. I mean, in order for us to actually continue to build the economy, because we've got a lot of work ahead, you know, of us in terms of where the position is, and we cannot again afford to lock down. It's already cost us how many billions already in this furlough scheme and trying to retain jobs. And I think now we need to be a lot more creative and sort of think about how we can live with the virus. I know there's the test and trace apps that's going on, and that I think it's quite helpful. I suppose that if somebody's that you're close to have the virus, that you'll be able to use it to find out if you've been in contact with that individual. But regular testing, I know in the workplace, there is an opportunity for employers to actually push for this, where they test their own people to make sure that they are everybody that we're working within the environment is safe. But not just test once, but test quite often as well. So we make sure that, you know, it's consistent and that no one is actually bringing the virus in. And of course, people who have underlying issues as well, underlying any sort of cause of, you know, who are more systematic to the virus or anything like that, be extremely cautious, and we all just need to be mindful and look out for each other.
Yes. David, I want to pick up back what you were talking about there, which you wanted to come in on. David? Okay, KEISHA, while David.
Hi, I don't know if David is hearing. David, can you hear us?
Yeah, so it's essentially, I think I've not heard any press reports sort of. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, even though it's become a bit static to a certain extent. Like the
Wi-Fi. I can hear you. I'm here.
Yeah. We can hear you, David.
Can you guys hear me?
Okay.
I think my wife. Sorry about that. So, what I was saying, essentially, I think that we all have to pay attention to what is being spoken by the government. There's always a changing kind of picture in regards to those countries that we have to, our Bahamas, for example, have to quarantine here for 14 days, according to government advice according today. So it seems to be a changing picture, and what we're doing is we're looking at other countries, the spread of the virus in those particular countries to an extent, and also then employing our own quarantine measures. So it's really paying attention to sort of government advisory, and that's tricky in today's day and age because there's so much information that's out there. And I think you're just going to find a lot more of this going down the track.
Yeah. Let me just pick up on that and go on to KEISHA. KEISHA, what's your take on the whole aspect of COVID as to where we're at now?
Well, that all depends. And I wanted to ask David, does he have the numbers to hand? Because my response is it dependent on the numbers. So do you know how many, let's say, deaths in the past week? Or do you know how many people have been affected by the virus? Do we have any numbers at the moment?
So data I can grab for you. I don't have it right to hand, but data can be found on Public Health Twitter feed and website. They have all of those.
Do you know how many, let's say,
yeah, keep going on. Sorry, distraction. Yeah.
Okay, so I think
yeah,
if you
so
don't
I
mind,
was just saying, you can find that information.
okay, so the reason why I'm asking, David, the reason why I'm asking is this, okay? Because I believe James Singleton completely would support KEIMA's position on let's go back to normality and lived with this virus. But my position on the matter is it is dependent on the level or the data of the numbers, dependent on the numbers. So, for example, if we're still at a high threshold of deaths or a number of people being affected, then why are we taking the approach or the stance that KEIMA is actually taking, which is let us actually go back into normality. Let us, carry on as if, we can manage the COVID crisis. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if we're still in a crisis, which means there have to be a significant number of people that are still being affected by this virus, then why are we actually taking the approach, which is to go back into work, go back in, basically get ready to send children back into school and all that, when you know that they're going to be eventually a second wave? We need to examine the numbers in the first stance. If there's a low number, so let's say there's a handful, what is that? What is, let's say maybe less than 100 within the whole of the whole of the UK, then I could say, okay, it's reasonable for us to actually go back as normality. But I don't believe we're there. I don't think the numbers are actually reflective of that. That is my position, but I just need to confirm the numbers.
Okay, David, you're having some
in the first stance. If there's a low number,
Sure. So in terms of
okay, David, we're having some technical challenges.
let me log out and log back in. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, we're having some technical challenges.
And get the numbers if you can as well, please.
Yeah. That's all. Okay. All right. Well, listen. There's something which I was reading earlier today, and we're all talking about PPE for a while, and David might hear this when he comes back on because he has been a stickler on PPE. They're saying that 50 million face masks bought by the UK government in April will not be used in the NHS because of safety concerns. The government said the masks which use air loop fastening rather than head loops may not fit tightly enough. Can you imagine? 50 million masks. They were bought for the NHS England healthcare workers from supply Ayanda Capital as part of a 252 million contract. I think Anthony would have said slackness, complete slackness. That's what Anthony would have said. Unbelievable.
Absolutely, but if there's an assessment that said it's not safe and for NHS workers to use them, I think almost regardless of how much it cost us, I think the decision had to be made for the NHS not to use them. But I think, of course, it's not feasible, I suppose, to be in a position like this where there's a number of different incidents and that we're hearing throughout. But we need to be wearing the appropriate PPE, particularly in the health service, because it's not just our staff in the NHS that are at risk, but also patients as well. So although it's costly, I suppose from a health and safety point of view, that has to be the decision.
Okay. KEISHA?
Yes, I completely concur with what KEIMA has to say. If there is, for whatever reason, the PPE is, has an expiry date or whatever, there's issues with the PPE, then clearly we shouldn't be using them. But I'm not. I suppose David would probably be better, the better expert in terms of the quality of the PPEs that's being used by the NHS staff.
David, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yes, so much better.
James, is that okay? James is monitoring it. Yeah, I was talking about this 250 million. Did I say 50 million? PPE, yeah. 50 million face masks, David, will not be used in the NHS because of safety concerns.
Firstly, very happy that I recognise the fact that the face masks are not fit for purpose. The one thing you don't want is people using masks that are not fit for purpose. Second thing, it's a travesty that we had that particular deal signed, dusted, and then we find that the face masks don't particularly work. whilst in any industry, I'm sure you have sort of checking of product to make sure it's fit for purpose. In this particular episode, we can't really be signing agreements for products that don't really work, and we need to make sure we get the masks fulfilled from some other particular avenue in order to move forward. So I'm happy that we've recognised that these masks don't work. I want to make sure that the quality checking for all the masks that are in circulation, not only in the hospital environment but also outside of the hospital, needs to be quality and safety checked. But at the same time, we need to make sure we hold people responsible for making the products efficiently and effectively in this particular crisis. To answer the question, I think posed by KEISHA, was it KEISHA?
KEISHA.
Yeah,
That's right.
Sorry, I couldn't remember. In terms of
you probably were going to say KEIMA. That's it. Just admit
no,
it.
No. I'm not the Sylbourne boy. I'm David. So, in terms of the numbers, I don't have the actual numbers of people affected to hand. But for the past 3 weeks, the numbers have plateaued. Okay, so they haven't moved up or down in terms of the number of people who have died, unfortunately, through COVID. So that's as an average, a rolling week average. Today, I think it was less than 100 people who passed away. I think it was 89, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. Now, that's not to say that those people who are passing away, we obviously acknowledge the fact that they passed away. We acknowledge the fact that this virus is still out there, and we should rightfully respect the fact that the virus does take lives. But I think in terms of how we maneuver now, this virus is not going to go away. We've got viruses that are in circulation, not akin to COVID, granted, but are still in circulation. We've had to move forward with that. So we have to learn ways to fight back by action, by positive action, by getting back out into the community, by doing the things we love and enjoy. Because living in fear is not to our best advantage. We've never done that very well as humans. Living in fear is not great, and it changes the psyche of people. Okay, now safely coming out of the lockdown is what I postulate to be the best thing for us.
It's interesting you said, David, living in fear is not good, and psychologists or psychiatrists have been talking about a lot of fear factors, and these fear.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hello. Yes, David. Yeah. What's that?
I think there's a noise in the background. Somebody needs to be muted.
Yeah.
But can I just say, based on what David has said, I suppose James and KEIMA, you've won me over. Okay, I'll give you that. Why did you mute me?
Yeah. Okay, KEIMA. Sorry, no, I was messing around something there. Yeah. Sorry, is it someone? David.
Hello.
Okay, David went. Oh, David went and he's coming back in. Sorry.
So David's gone.
Can I just say, because this debate or discussion has been going on for the past few weeks between myself and James and clearly KEIMA, and based on what David has just said, I concede. So yes, I'll give James the win on this one.
Okay.
Fine. Yeah, I'm happy to go back into work.
Okay.
Fine.
David, are you back? Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Let me see something. David?
Yes.
Okay, you're back on the track, Jack. There.
Okay, good. Okay.
Right. I'm sort of lost now because I'm thrown out completely. KEISHA, I admire your ability to do that. Okay, what is that ability? Yeah.
Sense of humility, taking the humble pie there.
Taking the humble
pie, James.
Yeah. Well, listen. Okay, COVID is here. COVID is going to be staying. COVID is not going anywhere. And I'm also of the view that, listen, people are talking about there's going to be a spike again. I don't know who gave them that prophetic word that there's going to be a spike again. I don't know where this is coming from. It's like the whole advent of the vaccines. People are waiting for vaccine to come. Maybe that is what people are waiting for in order to somehow boost some sort of financial, make some people trillionaires, if anything. But nevertheless, I do agree with what David said, is that COVID somewhat is here and we've got to live with it, And KEISHA, I don't know about this lockdown thing, the second lockdown. I just can't see that. I can't fathom that happening again. I can't fathom it. I don't know what people think about that, And what James said, it is coming from the same people who predict the heat waves in England.
You know what it is still? I don't think the country can afford another lockdown.
Yeah.
That's simpler as it is. The furlough scheme has already cost over 30 billion, which is a lot in itself, just to try and retain jobs. And so I don't think the Prime Minister can afford another lockdown either way. So of course, what has to happen now, it has to be a more targeted approach to where pockets of where we see a rise in the COVID across the country, more targeted. If they want to lock down certain areas of the community, to focus in those areas, that's more likely to happen than one size fit all right across the board shutdown of the country. I can't see that happening again.
Yes. And as a result of that, we've got to, in one of these sense, we've got to say we've got to move on, right? And we've got to move on to the next issue, because what has been happening as well is that there has been something being said, and there was this member of parliament who said that, and this is what he said. He said there's more black persons, is a Tory MP, said the vast majority of people breaking lockdown rules are from the BME community, right? And that is feeding into that narrative, saying that the BME community has this greater propensity to get COVID, right? But then at the same time, what contravenes that is in Manchester, where it said that 80% of cases in Trafford are among white community and middle class complacency is being blamed. So one is saying that the BME, and one is saying actually is the middle class white. David, what's going on there? Are they just playing around with people's emotions?
I think on the latter there, Sylbourne, and that's, I think, feeding into the point I'm trying to make here when I say that this really has to be solidified, that we get back out and go into the workplaces, go back out enjoying ourselves, go back out and do the things that we would have done previously. Because if not, you get ideas born out of fear, ideas that are driven to try and divide people, yeah, particularly at this very vulnerable time. And all it takes is people not having the right sort of headspace, the right sort of thought to then attach themselves to particular propaganda. And from this particular MP, I'm disheartened by the fact that one would launch into that assumption that you can blame a community, a particular section of community, not an area. When I mentioned community earlier, I was touching on areas regionally. I'm not talking about people specifically within those areas, i.e. groups of Asian, Black, etc. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about particular areas. And I think that's the thing here. You're going to find that people like this Tory MP will be able to launch into a tirade against particular groups, and people will latch onto that, unfortunately, and target them and change people's perception about how people are tasking themselves with regards to COVID. I think it's a wrong thing to say. I think it's a wrong thing to sort of elaborate on, and I would hope that this is dispelled. This kind of myth is dispelled from people's mindsets.
And KEISHA, what do you think about it? Have you guys ever experienced like someone, walking across the road from you? Well, that was happening a lot. That was happening a lot at a time when people are walking, they go across the road from you. But now, people are now saying is that it legitimizes a level of discrimination to a certain extent, or whatever, to walk away from a black person because they're more propensity to have COVID. I know it's a touchy area and it's sensitive, but it's a discussion which has been going on.
Shouldn't we be sorting out the vaccine? Seriously?
Sorry?
Shouldn't we be sorting out or actually firing the vaccine? I mean, do we have so much time to be blaming, it's a white population or the black population? I mean, seriously, we should be unified. We should be coming together as a people and trying to work together to support each other during this time. And yet we find a Tory MP, and maybe I should just set aside the fact that he's Tory, but it's because I'm sure it's not only him who've actually been saying these things.
Yeah.
suddenly begin to say, pointing the finger at a particular race or particular group. It just, to me, is actually unacceptable. The fact says, and I'm one to look at the statistics and the facts. The fact says, from the Office of the National Statistics, you have the Institute of Fiscal Studies, Public England. They all have said that BMEs have been found to be significantly higher, have a higher rate of mortality than any other race. So or any other community. So that's the facts. Okay, the reason why, I'm sure they have discussions like months before for the reason. I don't think anything has go beyond the fact that, okay, this is happening within the Black community. So I don't really see a targeted approach to say, Black people, because of, what's happening, we believe that you should, maybe stay at home or be shielded. I haven't heard anything like that. But my point is, at this stage, we really shouldn't be having this type of conversation around, this race is responsible, that race is responsible. We should be coming together to find a solution. Right.
So that's what we should be doing. So what you're saying is one should shut down that discussion. One should not talk about it. Is that what you're saying? That's what I'm saying. But I know KEIMA is going to come on board and say it's important Let's not talk about KEIMA. Let's not talk about KEIMA.
I don't understand the relevance of it. I'm afraid. I just haven't fully grasped why, 1 minute, 1 week we hear about the whites, and the minute we hear about the Black.
It shows that you've got an opinion on the matter. It shows that you've got an opinion. And I think maybe Maranta KB said, where is the proof? And I think that is what we're supposed to talk about as much as possible. Where is the proof? So therefore,
well, regarding the Black and ethnic minorities, I guess the Office of National Statistics have it. The Institute of Fiscal Studies have that. The Public England have this. So there must be evidence out there.
Yeah.
Regarding what the effect COVID have on the Black and ethnic minority.
All right, KEISHA keeps saying KEIMA is going to shut it down. KEIMA, are you going to shut her down?
No, she's not going to shut it down. She wants to have this type of conversation.
Okay, KEIMA. Okay. She's leading on to you, KEIMA. What's your take on that? Can't get away.
But no, I must admit, I mean, it's the approach, the narrative from the Tory MP isn't healthy. I think the blame game doesn't help. And when we're hearing, particularly, he's a Yorkshire MP, he's saying that there's obviously a large population of ethnic minorities in that particular area where they live in homes that are, probably overcrowding. And that's where his both basis is for making the argument. But also, I think the problem is, it's a bit of a complacency, and I think also is a bit of a distraction. The reason being, I think it's easier to look at pictures where you see ethnic minorities are going out and there's partying and there's block parties. What we seem to ignore, and the media does this very well, they seem to ignore those photos on beaches, those photos of, pubs. Over 200 people at one point was at a pub, and those they were actually blamed for the spike of COVID in one particular area. So the way I see it is that I don't think it's a very fair picture of what is really going on. I think all of us has to take responsibility here, and to actually just narrow down to one specific area is not one particular community is not helpful, and I think that is very divisive. And I don't think that's the right approach to take.
Yeah, David.
Can I correct KEIMA on one point first? I mean, I don't think all of us should be accepting responsibility, because for one, I am pro staying at home. So I don't think it's all of us going to the beaches and so on. But yes, moving swiftly on to David.
Moving swiftly on to David. The host KEISHA said, David, you're saying David.
I don't know what else more I can add. I think we all, I disagree. I think we all have a responsibility when it comes to COVID and dealing with it. It's not a Black person's problem. It's not a white person's problem. It's a global issue. And the way that we come together and handle that is the key concern for me. Regardless of whether you're staying at home or you're going outside, we've all got to come together and handle this in a manner of fashion. But I do really think that this is a form of a particular distraction, and I'm just really mindful that the state of play of people's minds right now, fear feeds irrational behavior.
Yes.
And the point I'm trying to make is if we are living in a period of fear, then these things do not help that discussion. They distract from the discussion and they cause more division. And that's my bugbear with this whole situation.
Well, I must say that in moving on and carrying this on, Madeline Allen, we touched on this topic last week, but it's one of the viewers flagged this up. Can someone tell why of all the things while it gets shut down overall? Doesn't anyone think it's systematic racism? We touched on this last week, if I can recall. What was our position? Not our position. Yeah, KEISHA, what's your position? You always have a strong point of view.
I'm not impressed. I know that lady. Anyway, so my position last week was around social etiquette. And I was saying that given Wiley's position in the society, I had a greater expectation for him. And I personally felt that he should have sought advice before he actually put something out and to the public. So I do not agree that not because you're upset and you have your own disagreement on a certain matter that your source or your only option for release is actually to put something out on social media. I think there should have been another approach. I understand the point regarding systematic racism, and I believe KEIMA touched on that last week as well when she said, "Oh, how is it fair?" Well, she didn't say how is it fair, but basically she drew the parallel that some communities, like for example the Black community, when a certain group of people say certain things, they immediately the Twitter account is removed or Facebook is actually removed, and because another group of people, like say Katie Hopkins and the likes of Nigel Farage or something, they may have say something over and over frequently, which is of course it's often negative, prejudice, racist, and yet they still actually have an account for a very long time before they actually remove. So that is what I think that question is really about. But as far as I'm concerned, as KEIMA says, wrong is wrong and right is right. And we, as people, we have a standard by which, of course, historically, we just have to maintain it. You should know better, frankly, especially given your position. So that's what that question was about. Yes.
I don't think anybody actually did say anything against the government today as to why David got kicked out and KEIMA got kicked out. You guys didn't say anything against the government today. Whenever you guys say something against the government,
I think the government is actually preempting that this is about to happen because we're going to go into maybe more pertinent issues that relate to the government. So they're a bit nervous.
Well, actually, what we're going to go into is something of the nature. Well, I think KEISHA. Let me get KEISHA back in.
KEIMA, still.
Yes, can you hear me?
KEIMA, still.
Okay.
You said let me get KEISHA back in. It's supposed to be KEIMA back in.
Okay. Let me get back KEIMA in because KEISHA is already in. All right. And David is somewhat hiding in the
dark.
I don't know what is going on with the internet connection. I think I need to speak to somebody in the government.
Yes, I think you need to do that. I think you need to do that. Now, I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, at 10:30 tonight, myself and Dr. David, there's so many doctors now. Dr. Kevin Brown, is going to be discussing how independent is independence. It is Jamaica's independence today, August the 6th, 58 years of independence. And of course, many people talk about really and truly it's a farce. Some people say it's time to get together and have a party. But some are saying in the advent of the schoolgirl with the locks, the 7-year-old child, and that ruling, therefore, there are big issues and implications that people are looking at. So 10:30, Dr. Kevin Burton is going to be joining me, and we're going to discuss that. And we're going to invite persons. If you want to say something, there's a link that I'll give out that people can come in and give 5 minutes as to what independence is and what your thoughts on it as well. And and there's a strong possibility that about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, when they're having this jamboree in Jamaica, I may be logged in and I'll be getting maybe Buju Banton, Shaggy, Beanie Man with him big belly. I think the belly has maybe gone down now, to get them to talk. Last week, Sunday, I was linking in with Freddie McGregor, Babsy Grange, and all those persons. So this is going to be, the show starts about 8 o'clock, 5 o'clock or 8 o'clock Jamaica time. and then it goes on into the night. So maybe 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. That may happen. So watch your space on that, because KEISHA and KEIMA is going to be joining the party. Big bashman, yeah, Jamaica, you know.
Well, thanks for the invite.
Yes. Yes. Now, the other thing also is that there was this Eat and Help Out scheme, which the government actually did, and I believe David embarked on it. David,
that's right. That's right. So essentially,
that's right. So excited. That's right.
Really excited. You have to, but okay. So the disclaimer here is that you must eat out healthily. That's what you have to do. So I consider certain establishments to offer that particular endeavor, of which one of those is firm to my heart, which is Nando's, because I love chicken. So you get a good chicken meal with a variety of good sides. So no chips. It's got to be some kind of salad, macho peas or something like that, right? Sweet corn, something like that. But to really be serious about this for a second, there are lots of restaurants out there, or takeouts out there that are not, obviously, doner kebabs and chips and all that jazz is probably not the best thing for people to be taking in right now, especially when health is top of the agenda when it comes to combating the coronavirus. So I implore you not to indulge in fast foodery that is unhealthy, but to find takeouts and restaurants that have sort of good, healthy meals. I've not put this product together, but I have taken advantage of it and visited Nando's, and I plan to visit more establishments. I'm hopeful that it does help establishments as well in generating some degree of turnover and profit. So again, getting the nation moving again. And obviously this eat out scheme is really only valid for a few days of the week, so take advantage while you can.
And David, is it eat in? You got to eat in, or you can do takeaway as well?
No, it's eat in, take out. You know, my luck at Nando's, and placed my order, walked in, picked up my food, and it had my name on the bag. So I was ready to rock and roll with my chicken.
Yeah.
Get down with the third love of my life.
Well,
okay, so perhaps if you don't mind, Sil, can I probe Dave a bit?
Yes, please.
Probe it.
So, David, we went to Nando's.
Yep.
And when we went to Nando's, what happened? What's the first thing they asked you? Did they ask you for any particular information? Did you request any information?
No. I said I went for a take out, so I ordered online. All the prices, it was all sorted. Okay. So I didn't dine in.
So did the take out qualify for the scheme?
Yes.
Because my understanding it didn't.
Yes, it did.
Okay, the recent report says that the Eat Out and Help Out scheme is causing a lot of confusion, because there are people who want the takeaway or drive through service, and yet they actually been denied it because they said the scheme is actually for people who go into the restaurants, so for restaurateurs, people who are customers at a restaurant. So I think that's where the slight confusion may be. So so what is happening, and the reason why I wanted to ask you about it, because I want to know your experience, because I also understand that there's some customers who go into the restaurant, and then they're asking them for certain information, not only their names, but their personal information around their addresses, maybe date of birth and so on. So they're holding on data relating to that person, and they have to keep it for up to 21 days, just in case, or they, as part of the test and trace scheme. So if there was something to happen within that restaurant, they could be able to trace you or track you within those seconds. So that is what some of people are experiencing. Actually, I looked at the Public Health England guidance around it. So there's a government advice for for organizations such as restaurants to actually keep data for up to 21 days. So I thought you might have experienced that.
No, I've not experienced that. But what I would say on the data issue is this: I think if you're comfortable sharing that information, then fine. But what I would do is I'd contact the restaurant beforehand, find out what information they want particularly from you, and if you're happy sharing it, then make that reservation and go. If you're not happy sharing it, there are plenty more restaurants that you can dine in. It's food is a fountain of food and restaurants that are there, and go in and explore them. For one particular business to another, there's so many places you can explore. But yeah, I think phoning ahead, finding out what information that they require, and whether or not it's a takeout service or if it's an eat-in service, and then explore it. We've been to a restaurant since lockdown that's not been part of the eat out to takeout scheme, and we were just asked for our names. We didn't have to hand over a mobile number, and we ate out. They had perspex screens dividing the tables. And they had a lot of information about how clean they were, which is really interesting because you expect restaurants to be clean regardless. But again, it points back to that fear factor, doesn't it? It points back to that idea as to what people's thoughts may well be given the current crisis that we find ourselves in. Well, so David, making it specific that we've got clean environments is the way forward.
Well, I can say that I did try Nando's.
Okay.
I took your advice that day.
Yeah.
And I did it. And they said to me, the scheme didn't apply because I was doing takeaway. I said, my friend David told me that it worked. And it didn't work, David. I still have the receipt, which I'm going to send to try to get my rebate.
You're going to have to.
Yeah. No, from you.
Did you? Well, for me, listen, I'm not a spokesperson for Nando's, but I do like the chicken. So I can speak to a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who knows Rishi. And so maybe then we can get on top of this whole chicken fiasco, because we do need to get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, because I took your advice, David. I took your advice that day. And my wife showed me that bag and said, did you do that? I said, yeah. It came up.
Did you order online though, Sylbourne? That's the question.
I ordered online.
So then the prices were automatic for me. Again, you need to come up north, Sylbourne. That's the thing. You take care of the prices up here.
Yeah. Well, James Singleton is saying, what is this food agenda? Why is there not a hair scheme? And he's correct, because a lot of people have been. I mean, James a hairdresser, and he said, why there's not a hair scheme? So maybe there can be some lobby by the ladies. Well, not just ladies.
But Sylbourne, this took me back to maybe 3-4 weeks ago when this actually came out first about the scheme, and I was saying, Rishi, your mate, he decided to implement a scheme like that, and he didn't go further enough, because what he should have done is put money back into people's pockets, because they know what's best to get.
Did Rishi just actually?
It looks, and that's what I'm saying. Why this is very important, and I'm being rooted. Okay, and James, you're absolutely right. This is where Rishi, Sylbourne's mate, went wrong. Okay, he should have actually given us the money, put the money back in our pocket, decide how we want to use that voucher rather than actually food. I'm not interested in food. I'd like to get in as well. Thank you very much.
Well, I think James would agree with you 100%, because I believe that there should be a hair agenda as well, and that is blatant discrimination, isn't it, guys?
Massive.
Well, listen, I want Jamaica 58 years of independence, and there was a recent fiasco or situation in Jamaica where it was this 7-year-old child. And if I can actually just read a snippet of it, it has sort of gone into various proportions now. And where is this article? I won't cut her hair. Parents of dreadlock girl incensed at systematic racism after court ruling, right? And it is Shana Virgo says she will not cut her 7-year-old daughter's hair despite yesterday court ruling that a school in Jamaica, Kensington Primary, did not breach her child constitutional right when it denied her access in 2018 for having dreadlocks. What have you guys heard about this? Because I got more information on this and things which are going to happen. What's your take on what this is about? There's much more to it than that.
Well, the thing is, when I heard it, I was quite surprised. Oh, this something like this can't happen in Jamaica. When you think of dreadlocks and natural hair and all of that sort of cultural heritage, you think of Jamaica. So it was a bit of a surprise to me. But also, it just reminded me of a case that happened here in the UK. That is one of the reasons why it was a surprise. I think it happened in 1997, I think it was, when we had a young man as well that was suspended from school, and the parents actually had to take the school to the High Court so that the child could be reinstated to school, because he was suspended because of his hair. He was wearing dreadlocks. Yes. And obviously, ultimately, the High Court went in favor of the young man, and so he was able to go back to school just because on the ground of discrimination, religion discrimination. So that is one of the reasons why I was very, very surprised that something like this happened in Jamaica. But for me, I think on a wider scale of things, it's not the first time something like this has happened, and it's not just in the UK, I suppose Jamaica or part of the Caribbean that you're hearing this. It's also in the States as well. There was another young man last year as well who was told he couldn't graduate unless he cut his locks. So it's just, I mean, I'm not quite sure what is it about locks that people seem to take so personal, or natural hair, take so personal that they're actually willing to go as far as discriminate against others. But I just think it's very, very interesting.
Yeah. David, have you followed up that whole thing, David, if anything?
Well, I think you shared a document regarding this particular ruling, which I've not particularly gone through, but just sharing some of the concerns that have been raised in the public forum. I can't see a real reason or rationale as to why you would discriminate against somebody's hairstyle in this particular regard. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right for today's society. There are certainly other things that people do that you could scrutinise in the same level, and I think would be wrong to do so. So, for example, people who are Sikh, for example, wear turbans. I think that would be wrong to discriminate against them. People who are Rastafarian, I think it's wrong to discriminate against them. Why this is even a particular issue, I'm not certain, but I'd like to go further into it if there's particular ruling. And I don't know whether there's further sort of information shared in that regard.
Yes. Well, I tell you what is happening on the horizon is, and I've got the ruling before myself, and I've got a press statement as well from top people in the court system, because there's a lot of ramification about whether the child is a Rasta. That is one of the factors, is a Rasta, and that is one of the concerns as well. So there's many ramifications to it, and it's a maze. However, what I've decided to do, and ladies and gentlemen, listen to this Saturday at 9 p.m. Jamaica time, I hopefully will be getting Mr. Michael Hilton. He's a QC and was former president of the Bar of Jamaica, not the Rum Bar, but the GLC, the General Legal Council. And also Matunda McCullough, who was a former deputy public defender in Jamaica, who's resident here. And also Emily Shields. Emily Shields, she's from one of the stations in Jamaica that also is a very astute journalist. And she also flagged up a different angle, because this news was broken in the Washington Post, and one of the concerns was that the lawyer who actually disclosed the whole case to the Washington Post, there are questions about why did he do that, and everything wasn't really done properly. The judgment wasn't done. No wonder that I had Babsy Grange, who is the Minister of Culture. And I'm going to play the clip before I go, where she said, in Jamaica, nobody should be prevented from going to school because of their locks, their dreadlocks. And she said further that if something like that happens, and the law is, that means to say the law will need to change. Okay? And I said from a policy thing. So I believe there's thinking about this. But also, one of the undercurrent is that how comes in Jamaica today, you're still having these sort of things going on of all the places. And I think that is one of the issues.
Hi. Yeah. Okay, can I just touch on something? You've said so much there.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad you're bringing on, some very reputable people to actually talk on this complex topic, because I think there's so many angles we can look at it.
Yes.
But KEIMA touched on a point, which I kind of just want to go back to. And she made reference to a case here in the UK. Now, that particular case, they went to the High Court regarding the discrimination against that child based on that person's religion. So he was wearing dreadlocks, and he felt that he was discriminated because of his religion. I do not believe, based on my reading thus far on this case, that is what this was really all about. It wasn't based on religious discrimination. I believe what has happened, and again, I look forward to hearing these people on the weekend. Let's speak more in detail about it. But it appears to me that the school had created this policy and the policy was well intended. It was for it was a preventative measure in cases of lice and junjos. So it is for to help the health and safety of children. Basically, that was what the policy is about. So it's like a blanket policy that was put in place, and it was well intended policy. And then what you have is somebody who now wants to wear their hair in a particular fashion. Okay, I don't believe the court was convinced that the person was actually the child was wearing it based on religious grounds. So I think we need to clarify that on the weekend, exactly why the child was actually wearing it. And do we actually need to know anyway? But that's another point that I'm sure you will explore on the weekend. But what we do know is that the child, the school had a policy in place to say, listen, if you're going to come to school and you're not let's say Rastafarian, you cannot wear cornrows or dreadlocks because for health reasons. And I think that's a fair point, okay? Mm-hmm. And maybe arguable for some, because when you look at a wider aspect of the matter, if you go, I used to be part of the TA, believe it or not, Territorial Army. And when I was part of the TA, there's certain hairstyle I just wasn't allowed to wear. And it's just expected. So you have to actually keep your hair up in a certain fashion. When now, if you're a ballet dancer, you have to actually have your hair in a certain fashion as well. So this conversation is a necessary conversation. So it's not necessarily you're intentionally trying to discriminate against a person, but policies are in place for reasons and what we need to actually establish. Now, the other point I want to raise is that what happened is that we, similar to what had happened with the Immigration Act, where they actually created this compliance culture where they say everybody has to have an ID or their passport. And then a group of people, which is the Windrush generation, fell through the cracks or fell through that loophole because they certainly didn't have an ID. This is what happens when you create a policy. You create a policy and some group of people fall through that loophole. And I believe this is what, similarly happened in this case.
Yes.
And another thing, final point, Sil, because I've been doing a lot of reading, really excited about this stuff.
Yes,
I'm looking forward to weekend. I think it's the hysteria around this matter, Sil, from the media. I think that the media should have taken their time and get the ruling, understand the ruling, get the facts before they start saying all kind of thing. Because I believe it's not appropriate, okay, and for journalists to just suddenly criticize the judiciary. The judiciary has to uphold the law, okay? And how they do that, they examine the facts, they look at the evidence, and they consider the submission. You know that very well, Sylbourne. And they come to a conclusion which is in the best interest of the government. And so therefore the journalists shouldn't be so reckless, I suppose, in their approach by actually saying this is what the ruling is. I think we should have actually ascertained the facts first, understand the ruling first before all this comes to light. That's my final observation on it.
There were some developments with this whole thing where there were threats to members of the judiciary, and also the Brian Sykes, who is the Chief Justice, came out and made a press statement to say that the abuse of judges by way of social media or the platform is to be deplored. This practice is to be condemned. Members of the public should appreciate that our system of litigation is one in which there are two or more parties and they may not all have the same view. He went further as when he said the role of the media. The judiciary is urging members of the media to be guided by the code of ethics for journalists and to fact check information for truthfulness and accuracy rather than seek sensationalism. And that's one of the reasons why I plan to get in the frame of things someone who has an attitude, who has sort of understanding in the role of the public defender in Jamaica, and someone who is also from the top echelons of the legal profession and also a key journalist in Jamaica. So coming from all these different strands. And the purpose of that is to sort of give some sort of clarity out there, because as you can see, it happened and the news came out on Emancipation Day when people were marching for reparation, so that's the whole thing. But ladies and gentlemen, David and KEIMA, have you got anything to say on that bit before we wrap up?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is I think if the reason and rationale of not being able to wear a particular hairstyle is to protect people from lice, you've got to really look at why people are picking up the lice, what other avenues you could explore to try and reduce that in the community, rather than just saying a particular hairstyle is not allowed, are you saying therefore that lice are more attributable to people who have dreadlocks? I don't think that's the right thing to be sort of putting out there into the ether. There's got to be a better way of handling the particular situation. If it is that the school has taken that viewpoint to reduce the incidence of lice, if that's the viewpoint. And I think if you are using that as the excuse, then I don't think that's the right thing to sort of explore in terms of an idea, because you're going to run a problem in that you're then excluding people who potentially don't grow dreadlocks because of the fact of religion, versus those people who just want to grow dreadlocks because they want it as a hairstyle. Yes. So there are complexities to this particular story. I'd like to pick apart that story a little bit more and explore that on Saturday. But I think there's got to be reasons and rationale as to why things are taking a particular course, because you can see how quickly it is that people can obviously feel that they are ostracized for a hairstyle. So yeah, let's hear what happens.
And just hear what James Singleton said. This topic is complicated arbitrarily. There is nothing complicated about it. Schools are there to serve, not control. Anyone should be allowed to express himself. These policies are ridiculous. I'm absolutely fuming. Why are we, any of us, adhering to such nonsense rules? Name one reason that is valid to bar education based on anything other than ability. I'd give anything to have a say on this post. On this point, James is saying he'll give anything to have a say on this point. Anything. You guys need to get any haircut done by James?
Well, maybe we need to point the rest of the person wearing locks James's way.
But James, we have expressed what you have said there, and next time we'll have a point of view on this. But it is very interesting. But I just need to point out that the child was never ever stopped from going to school. During everything, the child was never stopped from going to school. So that happened, and there was an injunction that prevented the school from actually stopping the child from going to school. And there were some different policies which was there. But but guys, before I go and to sort of close this properly, let me just play what the Minister of Culture, Babsy Grange, said. I'm just gonna, if you don't mind, I'll just hide KEIMA for a moment and then bring this clip up so you guys can hear what she actually said. And here she is.
So much to the world.
Yes.
That I would say we are coping with COVID.
Yeah. Minister, I want you to permit me though. Yesterday we had the reparation walk in the UK, whereby, lots of Jamaicans here, and they're playing the song, the words of the Babylon say, Rastamago, and it was just awesome. I didn't go myself, and but there's a somewhat of a disturbing news which came out of Jamaica. And if you could permit, you don't have to go there if you want to. And it's about this 7-year-old girl and the dreadlocks and some court ruling. I'm sort of not so sure about the facts.
I think there is a misunderstanding about the court ruling.
Indeed, man.
There is a misunderstanding, and we are waiting to see the actual opinion, the details of the ruling. And then at that point, we will be able to clarify. What I can say to you
is
that no child should be denied access to education because of a hairstyle. No child should be denied access to education because that child is a Rasta. And that's a policy of government. Mm-hmm. And we're going to ensure that that is never done, that no child will be denied. So until we clarify the court ruling,
yes, ma'am,
that's our stated clear position.
Fantastic.
And if legislation needs to be amended in order to leave no doubt, we will ensure that's done.
I'm very grateful for that, and I wanted something just to sort of appease a lot of people out there, and this was one of the crux of the interview as well, because there's a lot of noise which is going on, but I just, but I like to get the facts and to hear it from yourselves first.
Yes. But let me tell you,
yes, ma'am,
during my budget presentation a couple weeks ago, I actually had a segment which spoke to locks because we have sponsored workshops, how to care your locks and why it is good to be proud of your kinky hair and to promote your blackness. So there is no question about it. There is no hesitation. There is no issue. You wear your locks wherever you want to wear your locks, whenever you want to wear your locks. Every man, every woman, every child is free to wear your locks and to promote your religion.
And you got Mr. Terry Long there as a dreadlocks in the house. And you also got Damian Crawford as well as a dreadlock.
That's right. That's right.
Why it was like a bit confusing as much as possible. I want to thank you so much for that. And unless you have anything, I know
you should recall too that we appointed the first Rasta.
Okay, guys, you heard what she said, yes?
Yes.
Let me bring back KEISHA. KEIMA. I'm getting there. You know, eventually in the next year or two, I'll get it. I'll definitely get it. What do you think about what the minister said there?
I think ultimately, you know, the premise is right. You know, no child in today's day and age should be having to be worrying about going to school and because they've got locks that, you know, they could not possibly continue their education. I think that's not something that is acceptable, and I think it's very good that the minister acknowledged that. Okay,
all right, David. Any last word? And
I think she made that perfectly clear. It's what I really just said a second ago. It's something that really I don't even think should be speculated on. If you've got a hairstyle, it shouldn't be that stops you doing from what you would normally do. We don't segregate people who wear turbans. We shouldn't segregate people who wear locks. For me, it's as simple as that. And at the end of the day, it boils down to a child. This is a child at the end of the day who is part of an educational system, and we can't allow them not to be part of that education system because of the hairstyle. Simple.
Okay. And KEIMA.
KEISHA.
Yeah, oh my Lord, Sylbourne.
I absolutely agree with the the MP, Minister. I mean, the fundamental principle is that, you know, she has this child has a fundamental right, which she has a constitutional right, which is of course her right to education. It is actually a human right, and therefore that outweighs and overrides any other issues, such as any policy that's actually been implemented. And given that outweighs that, fundamentally they shouldn't even have to come to court. And the bottom line is her education should actually take paramount over any other policy or procedures or anything or rules that the school is implementing.
Yeah.
I think this might have been a test case, though. I suspect they were trying it with the courts, but we'll see.
Okay, well, guys, everybody has had a chat. Final word. Okay, well, listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on tonight, and thank you so much for the guest, and also James, Dion, Maranta, everybody else, those on YouTube as well, Don Dada, MVP, and Queen Irie, and all those other persons. Thank you so much for KEISHA. Thank you, David, and thank you, KEIMA, as well, Dr. Burton. What is going to happen at 10:30? I'm logged in to do this special, a late night special on independence with Dr. Kevin Brown, and linking up with Jamaica, and also for persons who want to come on to that and just to say what independence means to you. Even James, what does independent mean to you, as a British subject, you know? James, I love to hear. Do you want to be independent from? Sadiq can wanted to get Brexit, get London out.
London,
yeah,
independent from the rest of the country. Yeah,
you know, everybody wants independence. KEIMA, David, and KEISHA, you guys are invited back again as well to share your views as to what independence mean, and everyone else. And there's a link which I'll put out there. Persons are interested to come along as well to find out. James said, phew. let me so guys, listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. Let us know what you think, and of course each week submit your topic. It would be great for you to submit the topic as well as to what you like us to talk about, and yeah, we'll accommodate as much as we can. These guys know everything, trust me. And remember to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel and to the Facebook and also Instagram as well. And peace out and all the best. Cheers.
Bye-bye.